Hi, everyone. My name is Gianna Loretta, and I'm a senior philosophy major here at West Virginia University. And in this video, I'll be discussing the LSAT, the law school admissions test, and how studying philosophy is a great way to prepare for it. So specifically, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what the LSAT is and what it entails. Then I'll show you some data that proves the correlation between studying philosophy and success on the LSAT. And after that, I'll walk you through 2 practice questions so you can really see it for yourselves. Let's get started. So what is the LSAT? Essentially, it is the law school version of the ACT or the SAT. It's the entrance exam that attempts to measure how successful someone is going to be in law school, but a little emphasis on the attempts. There's a lot of debate about how accurate it really is, as with any standardized test. So nevertheless, the LSAT does have 4 sections that each last 35 minutes. 3 sections are scored: reading comprehension, logical reasoning, and analytical reasoning, which is more frequently referred to as logic games. Now, the 4th section is experimental and unscored, but you never know whether it's going to be reading comp, logical reasoning, or games. And the sections aren't given in any set order, so the test is going to be different every time you take it, and you won't be able to tell which section is experimental, only that you had 2 of one kind. So it's also important to note that while the LSAT is still the test most commonly being used, more and more law schools are accepting the GRE as well. So now that we've talked a little bit about the basic structure of the LSAT, let's talk about how philosophy majors tend to perform. So according to this 2019 report from the American Philosophical Association, based on data published by the Law School Admissions Council, or LSAC, philosophy majors tend to score higher than almost every other popular pre-law major, and they've often scored the highest in years past. Likewise, that same report also found that philosophy majors have a very high success rate when it comes to actually getting admitted to law school. So indeed, the LSAT score isn't the only important part of a law school application, but is definitely one of the most imperative. Other significant factors include your personal statement explaining why you want to go to law school, and your resume detailing all of your collegiate activities and your work experiences. But back to the LSAT, what's giving philosophy majors such an advantage? Well, it's the fact that studying philosophy directly improves the skills that the LSAT is striving to measure. As you'll see in a minute, the LSAT wants to gauge students' critical thinking and their logic abilities. To do well, you have to possess an extremely high level of reading comprehension. You also have to understand the structure of arguments and be able to pick out flaws and disagreements. You also have to be able to look at sets of rules and then apply them to new scenarios. And really, that's what philosophy is all about. So just take a look at this first practice question. Now, all of these questions that I covered today come directly from the LSAC website, and you can take a minute to pause and read through this one now. So essentially, you're given a snippet of a conversation between 2 people, Kim and Laird, and they're having a disagreement. But what specifically are they disagreeing about? Well, if your answer was D, whether pure research has its most valuable achievements and medical applications, then you're correct. And as you can see in this explanation also provided by the LSAC, Laird thought that the most valuable achievement of pure science is expanding knowledge and providing new ideas. However, Kim says that your priorities are mistaken. Saving lives is what counts most of all. So that's the right answer. Now, don't worry if this feels uncomfortable or confusing. The more you study philosophy, the more that you're going to be prepared to analyze arguments and then glean what points specifically people disagree on. Okay, now let's look at this example of a logic game question. And these are notorious for being especially tricky. So this prompt says that a company has 8 different areas of expenditure, but only 5 can be reduced. Then you have 4 rules that control exactly how those budgets can be reduced. Now, each logic game question starts like this. You're given a prompt with the rules, and these prompts and rules are going to be used for the 5 to 7 questions that follow. So let's take a look. Now, question 1 asks, based on those rules, if M and R are reduced, then which of the following is a pair of areas that neither of which can be reduced. And that wording is tricky on purpose, believe me. So take a minute to go back to the previous slide if you need to look at the rules again, and pause to try and work this one out. Are you ready? Well, if you got answer C, L and N, then you're right. So based on that fourth rule, only two of M, R, and L can be reduced. So since M and R are already reduced, L can't be. So there's one. Next, the second rule requires that if N is reduced, then neither S nor R can be reduced. So in other words, N and R can't both be reduced. And since R has been reduced already, we know that N can't be. And that's it. You're done. Again, it's okay if this feels really disorienting. It takes a lot of practice to get the hang of. But luckily, there's one class in particular that's really going to help you improve your LSAT skills, and that's symbolic logic. And at WVU specifically, this is Philosophy 260. Now, this class is going to teach you how to break any argument down into steps so you can clearly and concisely analyze its validity and make deductions from it as well. So, for example, this is a simple argument that says, if you have P, then you have S. That little horseshoe in the middle means then. So on the next line, you can see that there is a P, so that automatically means there's an S too. Now, doesn't that seem really familiar to the logic game question we just looked at? I can't stress enough how important these formal logic skills are for success on the LSAT, so I would highly, highly recommend taking a course like this when you start studying. Also, if you want to keep practicing, here are the links to the LSAC website with more official questions. Now, once again, I want to emphasize that this is a new way of thinking that takes time and effort to learn. But one surefire way to see progress is to study philosophy and really hone those logical and critical analysis skills. So thanks so much for watching, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck when you take the LSAT.